Hey kids, it's Blackjack with 396 guitars. We have a little guitar on the bench. It's actually a mandolin. Um, all the same rules apply when you're working on a mandolin that would apply to a guitar, as it were. But we're going to look at this one and I'm going to tell you what I found. Let's get to work. Remember, if you dig what I'm doing, like and subscribe, and please share. So, this instrument came to me from a family member. So I'm kind of going through it. You know, he brought it to me, and one of the tuning pegs was off, and it's the Epiphone. I've searched these a little bit. They're in a price point that's above what you would consider an entry level. It's actually quite a nice instrument. It's got electronics. It does have an output and a preamp on it. I'll get into that in a moment. But the main thing, he just started playing it after it's sitting for a long while, he said. At least that was my take on it. The tuners that came out of it were pretty cheap and wonky. There was no adjustment to, tighten up the tuning peg. These are the ones that I already put on off camera. I really wasn't going to do a video on this instrument because it was just, once I got into it, there was too much to do. And it would have just eaten up a ton of video time, probably 2 or 3 episodes. But I digress. We did off camera already put some new tuning machines in it, a whole set, and they are adjustable. They're pretty decent. I mean, you can get nuts with tuning machines, but for what this instrument is and compared to what it had on it, these are a big upgrade. So we're happy with those. I had to clean out a lot of the holes just to not oversize them to suit these. These were a direct fit, but there was a lot of crap down in there, as instruments will collect that up over the years. Sounds pretty good. It came to me ironically missing one of the E strings, and the other day I got to the point where I was starting to do the setup, and you have to literally loosen all the tension off to move your saddle and bridge assembly up and down to get string height. And that's kind of where we got. Point of interest, there were 2 nuts on this, plumber's tape, and looked like super glue to try to keep this from spinning. And guess what? It was still spinning around. So off camera, that was a repair I did. I finally got the second nut off of it, and then got the first nut off of it, and neither one of them were the right size for the thread. I thought that the output jack was actually boogered and the threads were done, but it wasn't. I pushed it through, got it out where I could work on it, clean up the threads, get the correct nut for it. Lock washer on the inside, flat washer on the outside, and use my special tool to hold the inside of the output jack while you tighten the nut. Of course, I did not film all of that, but I also had the electronics off. I cleaned the entire guitar. I polished all the frets. I oiled the board, strung it up, and got to the juncture where I'm trying to lower the string action. Well, that's where everything came to a screeching halt. Point of interest also, when I first got the instrument, the neck was in a really bad back bow. I mean, it was literally humped like a camel, and I know why. Probably the same person that double nutted that thing, which is a failure. I'm sorry, was not correct. Tried to lower the string action, which is the juncture that I'm at, and when he realized, oh, it won't go any lower with the adjustment, I'll just bow the neck until it comes up to the strings, and that'll lower the action. Well, that's also a fail because it won't play properly. I don't booger around like that. I am going to de-string it. So these strings got donated for the first part of the job, and we're going to take them off. And what I'm actually going to do after I get the strings off, I will show you. We're going to take, this is, by the way, a floating bridge, and before you take it off and take the string tension out, this is what I do. And by the way, I had already set the intonation on it by moving the saddle up and down to get it was way sharp, and I kept pulling back until almost the preamp. There's a little fork right here that holds on to the treble side post of the saddle bridge. It's almost ready to pop out, so that's as far back as I could go, but I got the intonation down to where it's acceptable. So when you de-string these instruments, you want to kind of put a little blue tape right there, and it will make a corner so you know where to put it back, if that makes any sense at all. So that's how far this way I want it to come, and this is how far down this way I want it to come, right? So I know that's the corner where it's going to be. I'm also going to put one right there. Just one little tiny piece of blue tape, just so I know it's level. Because intonation is a bitch on a floating bridge. Because you have to loosen all the strings off and move that thing up and down. If it's sharp, you have to lengthen that distance. If it's flat, you have to shorten that distance. In this case, it was really sharp. I kept pulling it back until I got it. And I can see evidence of somebody trying to slide this thing up and down. It has actually gouged the top of the guitar, the top of the mandolin, I'm sorry. I don't work on a lot of mandolins. I tend to not want to work on them because the string tension is so high on them, you're almost guaranteed to break at least one E string, which happened from loosening it and tightening it, loosening it and tightening it, trying to get all this settled where I want it to be. Why are we going to go through all of that? I'll tell you. We are right now at about over 5/64 on the bass side, the G, and 5/64 on the treble side, the E. Where I want to be is 5/64 here. No more, no less. And I want to be at 4/64 here. And we have run out of adjustment to lower our saddle and bridge assembly. The bridge is on the bottom, the saddle is what we're trying to lower. Where the strings go over, that's the saddle, and we need to lower it. It's just like a tune-o-matic on, say, a Les Paul. There are little, knobs here on each side. You turn this side down until you get the measurement you want. I have the neck in a acceptable condition. I will say that eyeballing it down, it's good until it gets right about here, and then it just dives off. I would say that this instrument probably was not stored in a perfect place, and it may have gone through some maybe less than optimal conditions for storage, meaning too hot, too humid, what have you, because it was really kind of when I got it. We've gotten it to an acceptable point, except for this. So I'm going to de-string it off camera, and when we come back, I'm going to have this on bench, and we're going to lightly sand it down. We're going to mark it for 1/64 because, like I said, I only need to come down just about a 64th on this side and 1/64 on that side. So we're going to make a line, which is give or take about 1.5 millimeters. A little more than 1 millimeter, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I won't be able to sleep at night knowing that it wasn't set up right. We're going to sand that down, so stand by. All right, kids, I'm back. Now I'm going to try to illustrate this, the beginning of it. So what we did was you measure ever so carefully, and we're only trying to take off. It's going to be about 1 millimeter and a little bit over to get to 1/64 of an inch. Why do I use 1/64? Because it's easier on my string gauge. That's just the one that I see the best, and it seems to be the best measurement. There are a lot of different ways to measure. Some guys like millimeters, what have you. But if you will notice right here, if I can get it to just to see right here, I have put a black mark all the way across it on both sides, right? The camera will catch it right there. That black mark right there. We're going to shave off a little bit of the bottom of this saddle. This is the saddle, this is the bridge, and basically it's set up like what you would call an EBR1 Gibson Les Paul. It's got a tune-o-matic, a couple of knobs here, studs threaded, and that raises or lowers your saddle assembly to get your string height dialed in to where you want it. Now, all things being equal, if I sand this down and disappear that line, I have effectively lowered the action on the saddle, right? This might be a little bit unsettling for some people, but you work on a known flat surface, tile, and you start moving it, and you can see the material coming off, right? And every once in a while, check your line and keep turning it over so that you're getting the same amount of material off of the entire saddle. And it's going to take a while because this is hardwood. It looks like a lot's coming off, but it's not really a lot. And every once in a while, just to show you how I do it. All that sawdust will clog up your sandpaper and you're not really doing any work. And then you go back at it. I'm doing it the old school way because I wanted to show you that you can do this if you pay attention and go slow and keep checking your work. In other words, put it on the flat surface and make sure it's not rocking. It's not rocking this way, it's not rocking that way. It should be flat, right? And the line is probably about half gone, give or take. So I'm going to pause while I finish this up because this will take a hot minute. Now, when I say I do this, I'm doing this the old school way for your benefit. I have a bench sander in the shop that I will go and bzzzt, bzzzt, and it takes it down in a matter of seconds. But here we're using elbow grease to show you that this is how you can do it. It's better this way actually because you can really hone in on what you're doing. A belt sander will tend to give you some rocking, and then you have some final finish to make sure it's flat. You don't want it rocking. This is the same process, by the way, too. If it was an acoustic guitar, you would take the saddle out, the white thing that the strings go over, and you would mark it. If you've set your neck relief correctly to get your string action down on, say, Martin or Taylor. I don't like to use brand names, but they're notoriously high action for what the kind of instruments they are. Really, the only other way to do it is to take your saddle down to lower your action. And if you get too low, then you put a shim in. But in this case, we have an adjustment. We just ran out of adjustment, and that's why we're lowering this so that now we can bring our action up to where we need it instead of go down and run out of adjustment. Yeah, follow. Stand by. I'm going to finish this. I'll be right back. Okay, so like I said, once you work at it with, oh, by the way, it's 240 grit or 320 grit will work good for something like that. Once you work it down and you disappear that line, you have removed the material that you want to get out of there. And that measurement will transfer over to being on the instrument, being able to lower the saddle down to get to where we want to be with string height. So that's how that works. Get rid of this stuff. Get our instrument back up here. Now, like I said, you know, normally I would go out in the shop, the other shop, and just do this right down on a belt sander. It's quicker, easier. Believe it or not, this way is a little more precise doing it by hand, but off camera, it took me about 25 minutes to saw that down, sand it down, and grind it down. And you keep checking your work, do it slow. You'll get there. It will eventually get to where you want to be. So, where does that lead us? We're going to put our bridge back on. And remember, we put our tape where we want it. And there's actually I can see a line here where it was before, and that was actually too far down. I'm going to get this settled right about where I think it should be. This is a tricky part. You know, you have to know which side is the bass side, which side is the treble side. Common sense will dictate that if you look at it really close, you can tell which slots are thicker and which slots are thinner. If you don't, when you take it off, put a little piece of blue tape right there and put a B on it. That way you know that's the bass side. But just by looking at it, you can tell. Stringing these little buggers is a project in and of itself. Guitars are so much easier. That's not what we're doing today. Let's get our saddle assembly on our bridge. Oh yeah, from where I left it, there's probably a millimeter of light showing under it, so I know I can lower it down more. And what we're going to do is we're going to start just a little bit high and nice and even. Get it to where I think it should be. Open up our second set of strings. This is the first time I had to have a donor set of strings. Happens. So the trick with this is get one on first. They are tricky. Probably one of my least favorite instruments. So you got two strings for each note. They're the same gauge, so it's not like a 12-string guitar where you have a bass note and an octave note. Don't get too much in a twist of what's happening here when you're putting your first string on. The idea is just get the first string measured, snipped, wound, and it'll hold. Now it'll start to hold that in there. But as we go along, we have to keep making sure that we're positioning correctly before we get all the way to full string tension. And by the way, mandolins have a lot more string tension than, say, your average acoustic guitar. All the same rules apply. If it's going to live in this peg right here, measure, they're kind of close together, so measure to the next peg and just a little bit past it, put a bend in it. Go through, stop at the bend, and just as sure as God made little green apples, that loop end is going to pop off just like it did. So get your first wrap going. That's one full wrap. The first winding above the string hole, every other winding is going to go below the string hole. Get your loop back in place and hold a little bit of tension on it while you continue to wind. Right? Stop before you get all the way up to tension. Find your home in the saddle and try to get it sort of positioned. This thing is going to move around all over the place until you get all of the strings on. Don't tighten it up to tension, any of the strings, until you get them all on. You follow? You got one string on now. It's going to hold, sort of hold it in place. The reason I say don't tune it all the way up to pitch each time like you would do on like an acoustic guitar. You want to get them all on there at reduced tension until we can get them all on, and then position our bridge and saddle assembly back where we've taped it off. That will give us a good return point because that's our intonation. You follow? One last thing, in case you make a mistake, while you're going through this process, leave some extra here while you're restringing. If you screw up, which you will, or maybe even I will, you can take them off and reuse them. If you cut them off too close all the way down and you have to take them off, open up a new pack of strings. I'll be right back. So, she's all strung up, and this is why that we put these little pieces of tape so we have a reference point to know where we started and just get back to that. It needs to come back slightly on the bass side, and the only way to do that is to loosen the tension and just ever so carefully slide your bridge back until you get to where you started. The reason we put this piece of tape is to make sure our string spacing is correct, and you can measure it. You want to get out of the little thing and measure it, but you can. But if you start and finish at the same point, your string spacing up the fretboard and over the saddle and across the pickup should be the same. I'm happy with that. At this juncture, it's time to tune up. So it's basically it's G, D, A, E. And you have 8 strings, so G, G, A, D, D, E, E. And you're going to have to do this a lot. And you better know what octave you're in. You start over tightening these strings, guess what? Open up a new pack of strings and start all over. And every time you tune up, I tuned these, then tuned the D, go back and retune the G. Because every time you tune up the next pair of strings, you're putting more tension, and it's going to throw these flat. Right? So I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes of my life doing this while you guys wait. Well, that's pretty close, actually. Well, it's already getting stable. I'm going to take that off because I want to see if I'm going to be in a happy place with my string height. I can see light coming through where I sanded the saddle down. Let's just see, for curiosity's sake. We started at 6 and 5. We want to be at 5 and 4. Let's see if we have enough adjustment to get to my happy place. We're already at 5 there, and I was guessing at it. That's pretty cool. Sorry if my head is in the way. Alright, so the treble side is too high, and we have room to go down. The only thing that might get in our way is this little claw that comes out to hold the preamp. This little guy right here. See that little silver piece there? There's a little claw that comes out. And what it does is it actually gets into the treble side post to allow the bridge to go down, the saddle to go down. I don't know. It looks like there's a little room there. Yeah, we're going to have to loosen the strings and try. I may have to pull that out and leave it out, snip those little ears off and get it out of the way. Let me see, a 4. No, there's room for it to go down. It's string tension that's holding it. We have to go down a fair amount on the treble side. The bass side is actually right where I want it, which means we have to loosen our strings on the treble side. I'm gonna show you this one little part, because this is loosen, adjust, retention, check, and that could happen 4 or 5 times. I'm not gonna burn up all this video to show that. And what we want to do is loosen the tension so that that will allow that saddle to go down. And I'm pretty certain, no, there's still just too much tension on it. You can hear it creaking on the wood. If there's too much tension, it won't allow the screw to turn, is all it is, the saddle adjustment. I go through that with Les Pauls every once in a while. Yeah, it's really going to fight me. There it goes. It's trying to move. I'd have to go all the way and loosen everything. I'm just going to slam it all the way down and see what my measurement is. It should be enough to let it move. Be careful you're not moving your saddle around too much. Oh yeah, there we go. Got some turns on it that time. And right there it stops because, as I feared, this is a poor design. That ear right there to hold our preamp assembly, it's got a little claw that actually goes right onto the treble side post. I don't know if we got enough adjustment out of it. I may have to clip that off. Yeah, we're going to be... We came down a lot, but not enough. And it's sitting right on it, and that's the last little bit of measurement that I need, because the saddle wants to go down farther from our shaving it. So we're there. It's acceptable. It's above 4/64, but we're perfect here and almost perfect there. It's just above 4/64. I want to see 4 there because that's what I want to see on a mandolin. Well, if it was a Les Paul, that's what I'd want to see. And that little guy right there is getting in the way. And really, it doesn't need to have that thing to support it, because there's a pad underneath here that holds it in place. It can't move anywhere. It can't move anywhere. I may off camera snip that off and leave just enough maybe to get on top of it. In fact, I think that's what we need to do. I think we need to snip it off and put those little ears on top of the adjustment, but it's always something. It's always something. Then I have to unscrew it here, get that out of the way, and then get my saddle adjustment set. Stand by. So, where are we? We are at the point where we're going to cut the string ends off, but make sure we're tuned up. And just like any string instrument, these are going to have to settle overnight. Yeah, that sounds good. So what we did off camera, this little guy right here, this is a poor design. It's a little, it's probably 3 or 4 64ths thick, and it's designed to go and hold the preamp against the post for the treble side adjustment, saddle adjustment. I snipped them off because it's actually got a nice little foot down there that holds it in place. It's got a screw here and a screw in here, just like a Les Paul would, and it holds it in place perfectly. It doesn't need that extra thing holding it, and all it was doing was holding us from getting down to the adjustment that we're chasing, which is 5 64ths and 4 64ths. And guess what? On the low side, we are right at 5 64ths, and on the treble side, 4. Exactly. And that's where we need to be. I do not play guitar. I'm a bass player. This thing's ready to go. We did a lot of work on this off camera. I didn't even want to film anything, but when I got to the point where I was, all right, we're going to take the strings off and readjust everything, I also rechecked the neck relief, which is, you know, the bow that needs to be in the neck. On this one, it's pretty straight. We ran out of adjustment there too. I'm a little surprised in some of the problems and issues with this instrument, but I think it's all due to not being stored properly. They want to be, you know, dehumidified. They don't want to be in a wet, you know, hot environment. It's actually a well-made little instrument, but it needs to be stored properly, 100% for sure. Oh, and by the way, all of our electronics work. We'll show you that right quick. Clean. I wiped it all down. I'm going to snip those off and put the truss rod cover back on off camera, but everything here is working. It's all there. This one's done. I'm going to call it a success. And it put me through my paces, this little instrument. If you dig what I'm doing, like and subscribe. I read all of your comments. I try to answer them as best I can. If you have any questions, yeah, shoot them out there. I'm happy to help. We'll talk soon. If you dig what I'm doing, like and subscribe.